They don't know my story, they just know my sound.
Is the key to being successful in any business is making the decision and sticking with it.
I feel like I was pushed on purpose.
And I feel like I was in the birthing room.
Every single one of you have faced things in your life, have overcome things, and because of that, you have the responsibility to share your message with the world. And you have the responsibility to take those lessons that you learned and use it to help other people.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Birthing Experience, where we help coaches birth their mastery. I am super excited for another Master Midwife moment where I get to bring on special guest experts that share their stories with us, share their biggest gems on how we can grow our coaching business. So I'm super excited about our guest for today. I'm going to let her do all the backstory and tell you all about herself, but let me tell you how I came in contact with her. So she is a client, colleague, and friend. So I've known her for some years now, and she's all about helping entrepreneurs really activate their confidence so they can win, so they can reach their goals. And just watching her, just listening to her, I'm able to learn so much, especially the strategy she did. So I'm really, really excited for her to share her stuff with you today. So her name is Andrea Groce. Andrea, how are you, darling?
I am wonderful. I'm excited. I'm cartwheels and flips and just happy to be here with you guys today.
Yes. So tell everybody all about you. Who is Andrea?
Okay, so I've been saying this for the last couple of months. I've had different opportunities to introduce myself. One of the first things I say, as if you probably would know, I am severely Jamaican, right? So I'm severely Jamaican. So yes, my name is Andrea Groce. I'm a personal development and transformation strategist. And my signature system is called the Confidence Activation Framework. And that system was really, and in fact, all that I do was birthed out of my own journey to self-acceptance and self-discovery. Just to give you in a little peek into my story, I lost my mom at 14 years old, and so that changed a whole lot for me. And I in the journey that I had to get to where I am today, there was a lot of disappointment. In fact, I felt that I wouldn't have the support system for all the dreams that I had. And so because of that, I kind of got into that bubble where I was looking at everything external as to the reason why I wasn't being able to move forward and do the things that I really wanted to do, rather than looking within to see that a lot of those things were in me. And so what I got to find out was that it wasn't the things that were external, but what I needed to do was to dip in on the inside of me and realize that I could activate whatever it was that I needed to be able to accomplish the things that I wanted to. And so that's where this whole activate your confidence came from. It didn't come from the fact that I have always been the most confident girl on the planet, but more than anything else, I realized how miserable it is to live a life without confidence. So that's where I'm at. And that's why I'm super excited to help people to not have to walk through the things that I had to walk through. I know everybody has their journey, but if each one can teach one, then it makes the journey a little easier, makes the load a little lighter. So that's.
Yeah. I love how you said that, you're on a mission to help people activate their confidence, but not from a place where you were the most confident, because that's so key. I want to stick on that for a minute, because I think that a lot of us, as we are growing our businesses, we expect that, you know, everything comes from a place of confidence. Everything comes from a place of expertise. When I come out there, I'm just gonna know everything. And I feel that the best missions, the best movements, the best messages come from a place of pain, come from a place of you having to push through, you having to develop certain things about yourself to be able to step through. And what makes us great as coaches is because we get to take those steps first. Not that we started off at 100%. We got to go through the moments, and we can use that to help people. So I love that. So question.
Yeah.
I want to go a little deeper because you said that, you know, at 14, you lost your mom, and that, I guess, was the beginning of you feeling a sense of loss and feeling a sense of missing out on things. So I want to go a little deeper with that. What are some of the ways that you feel that experience hurt your confidence? And can you say that some people are going through that right now?
Oh, absolutely. And it's amazing, you know, just to touch back on what you said about, you know, in these interweb streets, you know, everything is for the camera, you know what I'm saying? And everybody feels they have to come on as they have accomplished, have arrived, you know, I'm there. But the truth is that without the experiences of our lives, you know what I'm saying, we really have nothing to offer anybody. You know what I'm saying? So we have had to walk through some things to be able to bring others through, or to help others to walk through what they have to go through. And so it's super important that we not be afraid of that we not be embarrassed by that, you know what I'm saying? But that we're willing and able to embrace it, right? And to use it as fuel. So if I go back to my story, like I said, you know, my mom passed at 14 years old, and actually it began a couple of years before that, because I became, for those of us here who would hear this and have any kind of island background, then you understand when I say that I became a barrel kid at 2 years old. Now, that's not half as horrible as it sounds, you know. All it means is that one or both of your parents migrate to the US, and so you are left now to be nurtured by family members and by the barrels that would come with all the fancy stuff that comes from America. So that's how my life started out, probably a little over 2 years old. Didn't remember a whole lot about that, but I went to live with my grandparents, adopted grandparents. They were two wonderful people, beautiful family, loving, you know, but as I grew with them, I understood that even though they provided a lot of love and support and so on, there was still something missing, right? Because I knew I've always had big dreams, big goals, right? And it was a very ambitious family, one of those, you know, families in the neighborhood that you kind of look up to. So I knew that they would not be able to support all the dreams and aspirations that I had. And so my big dream was to come to foreign to live with my mom, right? That was a big dream. Myself and my brother, we were going to come to foreign. Wow. And so I got into high school, and I was always an achiever, did very well and so on. I remember one day coming home from school, and I was early one of the few times. So I was super excited, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to be, you know, just be able to chill this evening, no problems with my grandma and stuff like that. But when I got home, as I began to walk into the yard, she was sitting there with an older relative, an older family member. They were talking, no big deal. So I hopped on in and very confident, hey, Mom. And there was silence. I'd never seen my grandma silent. She was either loud and happy or loud and mad, you know. So I realized something was wrong. And just to, you know, put it short, in 10, 15 minutes, my whole world went to smithereens, because the message I got was my mom was in the hospital thousands of miles away, and she had 10 days left to live. My world was utterly destroyed. Every dream, every aspiration, every hope that I had to look forward to was gone, you know. And so having had to grapple with that, you know, and I could go into the details of me traveling to the US for the first time and, you know, seeing her, a shadow of what I knew my mom to be, you know what I'm saying? Right. There was a disappointment, yes, but there was also the fear of an uncertain future.
Ah, okay.
Because I didn't know now all these dreams and aspirations that I had, what was I going to do with them? You know what I'm saying? What would life look like going forward? You know? And so there was this fear of an uncertain future, but more than anything else, I believe that the biggest impact on me was this mental scar that I would always face disappointment in life.
Ah.
It was in a very uncanny way at that age. I wasn't able to reason things out. And in a very uncanny way, like I said, I found myself blaming myself or feeling embarrassed that my mom had passed. And years after, now that I'm looking at it and I'm really into understanding what is at the root of people's fear and their lack of confidence, I understand now that what really drove that feeling was that I told myself that I had no right to dream that big. I had no right to dream or to think that I would be living with my mom and it's going to be hunky-dory and I have this kind of relationship that I'd always envied in my peers at the time, because they had moms to go home to, you know. And in my family structure, even though, like I said, it was very stable, it was one where there was you weren't allowed to make a mistake. You're in the perfect family and you ought to live that way.
Right.
If you made a mistake, if you did something stupid, if you did something wrong, there were penalties, and the penalties were severe.
Right.
So I grew up all my life, my childhood, and even to my young adult, deathly scared of being wrong. You know, how do you go through life without being wrong? That's how we learn. That's how we grow. You know, that's how we develop resilience and strength and bounce back. But I never had that. And so I continuously put severe penalties on myself and had really high expectations, unrealistic expectations, I would say, of myself. You know, and even if I go back to that childhood, because a lot of what we do today, Nyala, is rooted in how we were cultured or we were raised. You know, and a lot of us try to run away from that. I did that for many years. Didn't even want to face some of the things that I was dealing with, right? But a lot of what we go through comes from then. And so my personality was always one that was loud and vivacious, and
Right.
you know, I would love to dance and sing and so on. That was not allowed. You know what I'm saying? You could be jigging and twerking and all that foolishness. You could not do that. So there was this lack of expression. And what it did, it began at an early age to put that damper on my confidence.
You know, and it's funny that you say that. First of all, thank you for even sharing that with us. It's funny that you say that because my family is also West Indian, and I can resonate with you when you say that. I think another thing sometimes, and you can tell me if you agree, is that in our childhood, sometimes we are taught to suppress. I know that in our culture, we are taught that, you know, not to complain, not to, you know, look at anything like you were less than, right? Like you were not special, right? So it's like you grow up not feeling like if you even can express that, right? Like feeling it is a negative thing, right? And just to give you a more example of what I mean and what I'm trying to say right now, is that I remember growing up, we were never really allowed to, like, I didn't know my father, right? My biological father. And in my culture, it's like you said, so what, right? All of my aunts, my mom, all of them lived with their grandmother, my great grandmother, while my grandmother was in the States. You know, their father passed when they were really young, so to them it wasn't anything. Me being the first person in my family that was born in America, I grew up in American culture. So even though at home I was in the West Indian culture, in school I was in the American culture, where they make it seem like if you don't have a dad, that, you know, that something is wrong, you know, like you gotta have all this attention and else you're being neglected. And, you know, in my world, it was like, okay, like that's normal. And now when I bring it back to my life now, being someone who teaches people how to craft their stories and how to share their message and using those experiences, I found it really hard to start sharing these things because I downplayed it like if it was nothing. Does that make sense? I downplayed it like if, you know, why would I share that, you know, my mom didn't really talk to me much, or, you know, that's normal, right? So I can get exactly what you're saying, how that can really affect everything when it comes to your future.
And that's so true, Nyala. And, you know, what I don't want for our listeners to feel is that is to compartmentalize, you know, my past or my childhood there, and then this is where I'm at. You know, and then we try to find different reasons to defend our behavior, to what should I say?
Or rationalize.
To rationalize, right, or to justify, that's the word I'm looking for, to justify our behaviors now.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? Because, you know, when you look back, even in terms of how we relate in our personal relationships, growing up the way I was, I didn't have the liberty of expressing how I felt. For example, I got into relationships knowing that they were dead in relationships, because I didn't feel that I would ever be attractive to the people I was attracted to. You know, I didn't feel comfortable expressing my emotions. I didn't feel comfortable saying to somebody, I love you. But in the same breath, if you can't express love, then you can't receive love. You know what I'm saying? And those things affect us. And it may seem like that's only in your relationships at home, but when you get out into these interwebs where people are so impersonal and can be so cold now, you know, for years, I thought I was going to operate a business without having to do social media, because I would rather not put myself out there for scrutiny. You know what I'm saying? But how do you help others if you can't help yourself? Ready to help yourself. You understand what I'm saying? So for those people who still are struggling, and it's okay to say you don't feel like the most confident person every waking day, because I still don't. But I understand now that the reason I don't some days is because of what I allow myself to think.
And now you can know what you need to start working on. That's really, really important.
Exactly. And so I want people to remember that it's okay to own where you're at, as long as you're not willing to settle there.
That's really important. So guys, if you are listening to us, if you're here watching us streaming this live, or even if you're on the replay or our podcast station, please leave a comment if you want to leave a comment, if you want to join in on the conversation. I think this is a really healthy conversation because, again, being someone who works with coaches, this show is all about helping coaches. I realized that one of the biggest struggles that a lot of the coaches have to really step out in their power and share their messages is lack of confidence. And a lot of times we don't take the moment to sit back and think where this is coming from so we can start to actively change that, you know, and change that thinking that we have about ourselves. So if you guys are enjoying this, leave a comment below, definitely share this out. So let's shift for a moment. Let's shift for a moment, because what I just said kind of raised the question for me there, which is a lot of entrepreneurs, Andrea, I see it all the time. A lot of entrepreneurs struggle with confidence and really stepping out in their greatness and with their greatness. Why do you think that happens?
Okay, so when I first started in my coaching business, my signature system then was POP, the power of potential. That I taught the three things, the 3Ds that were important to success. And the first one in anything you do is defining, right? So people, wonderful people, skilled people, amazing people, still struggling with lacking confidence to step out in their genius. What is confidence really? Confidence is that feeling or belief that one can rely on something. That's all it is. You feel that you can rely on something. You sit on a chair confidently because that chair is going to hold you. All right. So if somebody comes to me and they say, Andrea, I want to do this. I really think I can do it, but you know, I just lack the confidence. Sometimes, you know, it seems so innocent. I just lack the confidence to step out there. The first thing we have to look at is, okay, this is what confidence is. It's the firm belief that you can rely on something. So the thing we hear right there is that confidence and fear cannot coexist.
Okay.
So if you're not confident, then there's a fear that's there. So let's look now at what it is that you fear. Do you fear that you are incapable of doing what you want to do, or do you fear how it will be or how people will respond to it, whether you will be accepted? You know what I'm saying? So if we can identify what that fear really is, and the truth is, this is one thing that may be controversial, but I have to say to the coaches out there that I respect so much, because my life and my business was built on being coached, right? But a lot of coaches out there don't realize that when people come to them, the one thing they need to tell them is that I cannot make you confident. I cannot teach you how to be confident. Confidence is inherent. My belief firmly is that we were all born courageous. not an ounce of fear. If you think back when you were 8, when you were 12, when you were 6, you knew what you wanted to be. You wanted to be an aerospace engineer. You wanted to be a doctor, pediatrician, a this or that. You had all those dreams, and nobody then could tell you you couldn't do it. You were the prettiest, the smartest, the flyest thing on the block. But our life's experiences that we go by and different people tell us this and no girl, you ain't as pretty as you think you are. It begins to put that damper on our confidence, begins to stifle, you know what I'm saying, our confidence. And before too long, we wake up one day and it's like, oh no, I could never put myself out there. You understand what I'm saying? And so that's the thing I want coaches to realize, that you have what it takes. You have the gifts, the talents, right? The abilities to do it. If you didn't, you wouldn't have the desire to. You understand what I'm saying? But because you are thinking about how you're going to be received. I remember once, when I just got thinking about starting my business, I was talking to a friend of mine about what I had in mind to do, what my business would like. And he said, oh, but you have to sort yourself out first. That's what people tell you. And so you're excited. Have you ever had a project? You were excited about it. You know, network marketing. I've been into so many network marketing things. You go to the meeting and you feel you're on top of the world. You can think of the 10 people you're going to sell the packages to. And the first person you talk to the following morning after the meeting, you begin to think, oh, no, why didn't I think of this? Nobody wants it. And so we allow people to chip away at our greatness. You understand what I'm saying? But what I want us to understand is that we are not alone in this, right? And so we don't have to be fearful. We don't have to be embarrassed. But we have to do a couple of things. First, we've got to decide that we're going to take responsibility. Take responsibility for where we are, what we're thinking. You understand what I'm saying? The things that we have not done, we have to take responsibility for that. But once we've taken responsibility for it, then we now have to take responsibility to change. I remember one of my first coaching clients said to me, you know, we were doing our consultation, and she said one of the feelings she had was that of inadequacy. She felt she was inadequate.
Right.
It's okay to feel that you're inadequate if that's what you feel. But then let's look, why do you feel inadequate? Do you need to shore yourself up? Do you need to get some knowledge? Do you need to get some resources so that you can feel confident? You understand what I'm saying? Or are you feeling inadequate because of what you think other people feel about what you're doing?
So first we have to identify what really are we feeling before we can even start combating that. Correct. Right. So what are some ways that we can tell our audience how they can start combating that? Now that they've figured out where these fears are coming from, what are some actionable things that they can do to start eliminating some of those fears and start activating their confidence?
Okay. So like I always say, the confidence is there, it's within. So how do you activate your confidence? First of all, you have got to tap into, you've got to begin to believe, okay? Like I said, confidence is the firm belief that you can rely on something. First thing we know, we are fearfully and wonderfully made. There's nothing living that's worthless. So what is it that you want to do, right? And what is it that you can do? Believe in that. Believe in that. Everything was first and nothing. Everybody was first and nobody. So start where you are. Start believing in yourself. And then, regardless of what you want to do, I don't care how big your dreams are, you've got to be willing to take action, right? Yes, you can start off shaky. Yes, you may even fail. That's okay, because it's in this failure that you're going to learn the lessons that will make sure that your next attempt is going to be better or it's going to be successful. You understand? And once you've taken action, then there has got to be that responsibility to be consistent. Rome was not built in a day, right? And the confidence that you need, you have got to wake that confidence up. I tell the story all the time, and it's so vivid in my mind now when I think about the fire that was just in Paris, in Notre Dame, all right? There were hundreds of firemen that went into that building to save lives and to reduce the level of damage that there was. You're not telling me that every single fireman that went in that building was brave at the moment. No, but in that moment, there was a greater, more compelling need for them to lay aside that fear and activate the confidence that they needed to be able to go in there and to save lives. So I'm saying that we've got to look at our situations. You are a coach, you're halfway 5 years, 3 years into your business, you have something that you know this world needs. There are people right in your neighborhood, right in your community, right, that just need to get up and get on what they have to do. Okay, what are you going to do about it? What does it mean to you? Is that a burning building for you? Is it important enough for you to be able to do that so you can create the life that you want for yourself, but also help others to create the lives that they desire and they deserve? You understand what I'm saying? So taking action is super, super, super important. Being willing to just step out there. Do it even if you're unafraid. Because courage is not the absence of fear, but what it is the willingness to do it even despite the fears.
Ooh, I love that. Courage is not the absence of fear, but it's the willingness to do it in spite of the fear.
In spite and despite your fears, okay? Yeah. I may not be able to do what you do, Nyala, but it doesn't negate what I do.
Absolutely.
Okay? But as long as I'm willing to do it, then the day will come probably when you and I will collaborate just like we're doing now. Like I said, I was not always the bravest girl on the planet. I was not the most courageous or confident girl. I was a girl you didn't have to talk down to me about my purpose and so on, because I was already doing that, because I was rehearsing all my flaws and my failures.
Right. So we have to stop telling ourselves these things and start to stick in, rethinking, start to change our beliefs in ourselves and then take consistent action.
Right. And it's more than just the beliefs, the dialogue that we have, the inner dialogue that we speak to ourselves, the can't, the won't, the I don't. We've got to get rid of that.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. We're literally putting ourselves into lives of regret and resignation. Optimism. We have to stay optimistic. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I talk about the power of affirmations. Affirmations are not just frilly words that you say if you believe in unicorns and rainbows. No, right. They're powerful declarations of what you know about yourself, because confidence requires that you rely on what you know, not what you think. You understand what I'm saying? So you make those powerful declarations and then force yourself to take the action and to be consistent in taking that action.
That is good. So on that note, we are going to end it here, because I feel as if Andrea has given you guys so many gems, right? You have to believe in yourself. You have to incorporate some affirmations so you can start to reframe your thinking and consistently take action, right? So I love that. So Andrea, can you tell everyone how they can stay in contact with you?
Absolutely. I'm on all social media platforms. Create Your Lane.
Create Your Lane.
Instagram is Create Your Lane _. But I do have a treat for your listeners today. And if they just go ahead and text the word confidence to 77948, they will get my list of affirmations for mindset and momentum, 40 powerful affirmations to help you create the kind of inner dialogue that will have you standing in activated confidence.
All right, great. So I will make sure that I leave that with you guys below. Andrea, thank you so much for being with us today and giving us those gems. Guys, if you enjoyed this, you have any questions, you want to add in on the conversation, definitely leave it below and make sure that you share this episode. We are so happy to be able to come to you every Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with new episodes, all to help coaches birth their mastery. I am your host, Nyala Phillip, the Master Midwife for Coaches, and we will see you next week.
It was my pleasure. Thank you.